Aloha and welcome to week 10 of En Route, where every week we look at profound moments taken during amazing trips by interesting people. Today's guest seems a little preoccupied. Today's guest actually is an artist, she's an entrepreneur, and she's a traveler. And Joel Katagipad, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good, good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Now, if I recall, you were born in France, moved to Germany, Massachusetts, Hawaii, Washington State. You were all over as a kid, but you actually said your single most profound moment happened during spring break in Florida?
Yeah, so I was in college at the University of Washington, and one of three people to go to Fort Lauderdale for spring break. And I ran into this gentleman who was from England, and he had been traveling for 2 years. At that time, I thought I was going into the corporate world when I got out of college. Well, once I sat with him for about 2 hours and just talked, and he told me his story, my whole world changed. I went from getting a, quote, real job to traveling. I got out of college. I came to Hawaii to work. I saved money and I took off for a year.
Where did you go on that first trip? And what kind of money was in your pocket or your purse when you left?
Well, I had saved a bunch of money and then moved all my stuff back to Seattle. So I ended up with half of what I had saved. So I left with $1,600. And I went to Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, Bali, Thailand. I worked in Queenstown. I worked in Manly. I was hopefully going to make my way to Japan and then China and then Europe. But after a year, all our friends started getting married and I had to come back.
Okay. I got to imagine that just that trip alone, you had a number of amazing experiences. And you did tell me you had a lot of fun looking through your scrapbook and coming up with pictures to try to find a few of those. Not all these are going to be from that first trip, but I'm going to pop a few pictures on the screen. And if you can tell me, I'll get rid of myself too, so you can just see the image and tell me the story about this Buddha in the banyan.
So this is actually not the original. This is from another country that has something similar. But I was in Vientiane, Laos with three other people, and we were wanted to do a day trip up to the stalagmite caves north of Vientiane, and it was about a 4 to 5 hour bus ride. And they told us that was a day trip. So we got on the bus, we went up there, and we got up there and they were like, "Oh, get your luggage." And we're like, "We don't have any luggage." And then he goes, "What?" And you told us it was a day trip. So he gave us 45 minutes. We ran through the caves and got back in the car, and we were on our way back. And I tend to have a pretty good memory with places. And I noticed we weren't going back the same way. So all of a sudden we come upon this little gate and we see a little village in the back and a forest back there. And we're like, oh my God. Well, at that time I was training for my Taekwondo black belt. And so was my boyfriend at the time. And we had this plan of what we were going to do. This guy was little in case he tried to kill us. We thought we were going to die in the forest. He was going to shoot us. Well, we get to the forest, we get out of the van, he walks us into the forest, and lo and behold, this is something similar to what we saw. He said in his broken English, nobody gets to see this. It's strictly for the village. It is a temple that this Buddha, the trees have grown around, and he was very sorry what had happened and the misunderstanding. And I went from total fear to total surprise. It was amazing, and I'll never forget it. It happens to be on a slide, so we had to dig something else similar. But it was so amazing. So I think sometimes you have to be trusting of people around the world. They are very kind in general.
Whew, going to be hard to top that one, but I know you've got a few more. I'm going to change pictures for you here, and I think send you to Greece now. Before you start, Bien route, mademoiselle?
Oh, merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Ah, prego.
And it's even French. So this photo that you're looking at is an island about 2 hours by boat from Athens. It's called Hydra. And one thing I absolutely loved about it was not only when you're leaving the bustle and the city of Athens, you get to this beautiful little island that has, you know, cars are not allowed to go on them. You're taken everywhere by donkey or mule. But the great thing about this picture is it really shows you the past in the front and the present in the back. So you have that push and pull of both societies, but they can live together. So it was a really, really amazing experience.
All right. I'm going to take you to Cambodia now, where you had a bunch of wonderful shots. But one thing about your day in Angkor Wat, and specifically to Prom here, stood out. It wasn't so much the temples and the carvings, it was the people. And one person in particular.
So we were very lucky to have gone to Cambodia in 1998. Before it was really kind of open. And there were literally, during this whole trip in Angkor Wat, we might have seen 10 people wandering the grounds, if that. And there was a lot of little kids that were about 7, 8 that were self-appointed tour guides. And ours happened to speak 7 languages. He was extremely bright. And he told us and brought us to all the temples and gave us all this information. And the reason I know that was true information is I went 3 times more after that and got a lot of the same information. So entrepreneurship is alive and well in a lot of places, and really interesting on how young someone can be. So, you know, if somebody's got an idea and he's your child, take him to, you know, help him. That's pretty much what I have to say.
Well, you certainly know about being an entrepreneur. I love that story. Staying in Southeast Asia, you had one more shot, and this one is fantastic. But tell me why one thing you seem to do on every trip, cooking schools. Tell me why it's important to you when you travel to do something like this.
Well, the precedence also is both my parents were amazing chefs, not just cooks. My dad made food from all of Asia and my mom from Europe. And I did work in the restaurant business a lot, so I had a well-rounded experience with all that. So for me, it's exciting to go to the markets and see their food and how the people interact. And then you take these classes, and there are people from all over the world, and you make great friends, and some of them you keep for a lifetime. And to see how food brings people closer, no matter where you're at in the world. You know, Anthony Bourdain, we went to a few of his places in our travels, and he had a good point. You know, food brings people together. And that's one reason why we take these classes. This one is in Ubud, Bali, but we've done it in Thailand and in Italy and other places. So definitely something I will always do. And then bring it home. And
speaking of home, I have a very important question for you. This beach is what, about a quarter of a mile away from you?
It's about 1 block, really.
So
it's called Hot Secret Beach.
Well, here's my question then. Why are we inside doing this talk on such a beautiful day when we're a block from the beach?
Well, let's go.
I don't have anything to say cheers with, but I'm gonna. Let's go. I'll grab a beer and we'll go to the beach. With you. Hey, one thing, you promised me that you would play a little ukulele if I promised not to sing. I won't. Will you stick with your half of that bargain?
Yeah, I have been taking guitar and ukulele lessons in COVID, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of what I've learned.
Jolica, thank you. This is how we're going to end season 1 of En Route. I'm going to say aloha. See y'all next year.